Hello, and welcome this afternoon to the Center for Contemporary Printmaking. My name is Kimberly Henriksen, and I'm the director here at CCP. We're here in the gallery for a talk by artist Nomi Silverman, who is going to be sharing her experience earlier this year in the spring, where Nomi was our first annual artist resident to travel to the city of Dresden as part of an international exchange residency. So we will be hearing and seeing from Nomi the work that she made while she was there and learn a little bit more about what that experience was like and the work that came out of the program. So I am going to turn this over to Nomi, and as time goes by through the talk, if you do have any questions, I'm going to come around with this microphone. Uh, because it does help to make sure that the sound is captured for the recording of the video so that when other people will listen or hear that they'll be able to know what the question was. So thank you.
Hi. Haven't done anything. Okay, so as Kim said, I was over in Dresden in February and March, between February and March. And there's a lot to talk about, but I just want to start by saying and I was nervous going in there, it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. It was just a wonderful, better than I could have expected experience. There were 3 other artists from around the world. I was the only one who came sort of a long distance. There was a woman from Hamburg, there was a man from Vienna, and one from outside of Gothenburg, Sweden. And fortunately, they all spoke English. The 2 of them obviously spoke German, and the Swedish guy spoke enough, but we communicated in English quite well. And which was not expected, we hung out a lot, which from what I hear is not usual. Usually the artists go their own way, but we ate dinner, we cooked, there's a kitchen I'll tell you a whole setup there, but we ate dinners together. We didn't go together because only Sylvia and I were morning people, but we went home together and really hung out and did a lot of things on the weekends together. Dresden as a city surprised me because the last time I was there, it was still bombed out. They had not reconstructed. After reunification, they did everything. There's still one castle that they're taking their sweet time with to do the Senate Garden, but the rest of it's all, and so it surprised me. And I had plans, like everything, to weekends to go to different cities and all of this, and I ended up only one time going to Berlin for the weekend because I had people I was trying to meet and ended up didn't meeting them, but the rest of the time there was a lot to do in Dresden itself. There's a lot of museums. There's the Kupferstich cabinet, which you can go, and if you call up, you can reserve to see almost any artist that they have, and they have a lot. You just say, and literally there was 3 of us. There was 2 residents and then 1 gentleman who was not, and they came out with this cart with literally piles like that of boxes of all the different artists we wanted to see, and they stick it in front of you. There's you look at it, amazing, truly amazing time. All right, so the setup is you have a room in I don't know what to call an inn. It's a restaurant with rooms above it, an inn kind of thing. In an area that I will describe as Soho meets Brooklyn. So it's got a lot of really good sort of funky restaurants, funky stores, all relatively inexpensive, decent, hit or miss on service, but it was all fine. There's some supermarkets near there. There's a pool a block away. Which I didn't get to, but someone else had gone there and said it's small but good. And then there's a laundromat 2 blocks away as well. And it's a 2-tram ride, but really quick ride to where the print center is. And the print center is in the basement of an old factory. and it still looks like you go through to get in there. You go through like the guard gate and the door. It's really kind of cool. So you go through there, like, okay, work. And the setup that they have is very civilized. And they're very sort of strict about it, okay? 8 to 4, that's when they're open. 8 to 10, 10 to 10:30, 11, tea time. And they have this big pot, and they come tea time, you go there. Sometimes there's chocolates or fruits out, right? Then till like 1, okay, lunchtime, 1 to 2, again, tea out again. Serious about their tea. And it's really good tea. And then, so whenever you go back to work, it's 2 to 4, and then, you leave. But you get a lot done in that time. The gentlemen who sort of are running the place are really terrific people, very helpful. They swear they don't speak a lot of English, but they're fine, especially when it comes to like technical stuff, which if you have questions and need help with, they're there. And the 4 of us had a table sort of in the center, but the construction of this place is huge. Maybe it's the size of this whole, would you say the footprint of this? Yeah. You think so, right? Yeah. And they're divided into sort of sections. So the back of the place, there is the acid room, the asphaltum room, all the stuff that they have related to chemicals and odors. Great acid tray, which can rock back and forth so the acid moves along it. A great venting system. They have all the cleaning of the places there. They use asphaltum, but they do have, they use rosin, but they do have, they have asphaltum, they have rosin. They use asphaltum, which I tried. I'd never tried asphaltum before, which took a lot of learning. Then there's some litho presses, 2 litho presses, I believe, area. Then they have etching presses. They have woodcut presses, which is a pressure one, okay? They have an enormous type selection, type area, and a gentleman who is like the type master. And then they have this huge machine for something else. I don't know what it does, but it's for printing calligraphy. And then they have photo areas, which is for what they call algraphy, which turns out, I found out, stands for aluminum lithography. And that is really, it's like a photo reproductive process, but it has far more sophistication and nuance than your standard like black and white dots. So because they can etch it with different degrees of etchingness, and they can open up areas and they can keep areas from getting to, and I don't do that. They etch the plate, and I will show you what we did. So when I got there, the first thing that you do actually is you make a poster for your show, because the four artists have a show in an area, again, another part of Dresden. It's a really beautiful area. And so you make a poster for it. They keep half, you keep half, or the print center keeps a few, then the rest of it is the gallery keeps half and you get half. And then the gallery sells it. And most of us sold almost all of the ones that were there. And you could do anything you want on the poster. But, I mean, in terms of technique or whatever it is you want, you just have to print 13 copies. And it was fine. They do the text, and so they taught us that, it was like the first or second day, this allography technique. So all of us said, well, okay, it's like drawing, we'll do it. So we all did it. And the other 3, for the most part, did that the entire time. So the guy from Oliver, who's the guy from Vienna, did some experimenting with some really cool typefaces and making type art or art type at the end of it. But so this is the poster that I did. It's just don't think too hard about what you do, but You can, it's just it has a lithography quality to it, but it's, you know, I don't know if anyone would sit there and say, oh, that was a photo thing. And I can show you, so you do all the work on Mylar, and um, and then they shoot it onto the plates, this aluminum plates, and they develop it, and then you print it. And there's a whole process of printing it. Not complicated, really not complicated. Once you get the rhythm, this plate, which I will show you the print in a second, was a one-day marathon of printing because I had to finish by 4. So I had like 2 more to go, and it was like 10 minutes to 4, and I had, everybody's like, okay, I'll do this, I'll do this. They're all helping, and then so we got it done because I was not carrying it over to another day. I did, for the most part, I came in there with an idea, which is, I strongly recommend it because a lot of, you saw a lot of them, they sort of flounder, like, what am I going to do? And then it took them a week or 2, but they got sort of a direction and a rhythm. And, so I came in there, I'm working on the 10 plagues. Anyone doesn't know, it's translating the 10 plagues from the Bible into contemporary sort of versions of what each plague is and stands for. So I said, okay, good place to start. I love German Expressionism. Dresden is the place for German Expressionism. So I went around and I'm looking and I'm thinking and I'm doing that. And I did 4 plates, and I was looking to combine them with both woodcut and or carborundum plates. Okay. And so I did all of those plates, and some I combined and some I didn't combine. Got somewhere with the plates, not by any means finished. I have them here. So this one, which needs work, a lot of work, is darkness. And I've been debating about whether I scrape him out, and if Chris was here, he'd be laughing. Scrape this out and move him here and then darken that. I'm going to think about that. This is the one that I'm going to abandon and redo completely. It's not worth it. This one was an experiment. It's got a woodcut on top. No, sorry, that's the carborundum on top. Whether it stays or not, I don't know. And the plate itself needs a little more work. And this is one with carborundum as well, 2 colors, but the black itself is badly printed. So that's much darker and much richer and much more. So that's the 4, but it gave me a start. It opened the door to say, okay, now I know where I'm going. But what happened was, so this was my goal. I was going to do that, right? And I had a lot more plates, really heavy. Just watch if you're going there, just watch your weight on the bags. Seriously. They ended up, by the way, just so you know, they ended up shipping back my work because I couldn't carry it back. It was cheaper to ship it back than it was to get another bag and send it through. So that's what I did. It took a while, but it got there fine, all in one piece. So I hadn't done any of the, I was doing my etching. But then I said, you know what? They have this thing. I've never seen it before. I should do it. So I said, okay, I'm thinking about a print for the 10 plagues, lining the inside of the, sort of box, the portfolio that will hold them with refugees, which is sort of what I think of as sort of the culmination of all of these plagues, the environmental refugees, the economic refugees, the political refugees, whatever it is that you want to say. And so I said, okay, I'll do that. And I did measure the size, got the size, figured all this out. They work in centimeters, so it was a little bit more complicated. Nevertheless, think I got it. Made the plate, had them, and made the print, this is the print ended up. And so I sat there and I said, and they will recommend paper. They have a room like this size full of paper, just paper, and all kinds of papers. Some you know, some you don't know. So, but they will recommend paper. They will say, no, you need blah, blah, blah. Okay. And so they did this, which is heavier than I would have wanted for lining the inside of a. So this may end up being its own excuse me, its own thing. Anyway, yeah, thanks. So anyway, so I did that. The drawing took a couple of days, and they have all kinds of things. They have litho crayons, they have water, they have ink, washes, different degrees of washes. You can lay it all out, and you can work all that. Erasers, because it's on demo. Thank you so much. That's nice. So I laid it all out. Worked on one of the big presses because that was the place where I had enough room to do it. And it took a couple of days. Did that. They shoot the plate, and then it took, like I said, a day of printing, and then it dried when it dried. It didn't matter. They were sending it. So that was the first thing that I did. And I'm still working on these plates, and I'm working, and there was the only other person at that time who was doing etching was this guy he's Australian, but through his father has German citizenship, so he lives in Austria and has a house in France, which we are going to all go there and print with him because he has a press there. But he was also doing etching, and so it was really good to sort of work off of him what he was doing and what I was doing, which was a really nice. That's the one thing I found is that everybody in that shop, and there's people who rent it like here, they rent it by the hour, by the day, he was doing it by the 2 weeks. And for the most part, everybody was really sweet. And if they weren't, they were talking in German, so I had no idea. But for the most part, they were very friendly, really nice, and very sort of open about what they were doing. And I'm used to like, what you doing? What you doing? So then the back end of this was, so there's a lot of work you get done. So the back end of this was, I have my sketchbook with me everywhere I go. And so on the tram rides, in the cafes, wherever I was, so I realized I have got photography. I have to do, and a type master, which I never had access to, and all the typefaces in the world. Literally, they have 2 huge books of all the typefaces. And so I said, okay, I'm going to translate my drawings into plates. So got a whole bunch of general, cut it to mostly the same size. And they have, by the way, the world's greatest paper cutter. Anyway, so I just just sort of redrew it, like using what I had sketched in my sketchbook as inspiration for it. And did not print them there because did not have enough time. You think you have all the time, what you have no time. But what I ended up doing there, which I had to do, was I made a portfolio. Now, this is the funny part of it. So I know very little. The only typeface or the typography I know has to do with Time magazine, which is very strict about their typography. So you have this guy, and he's like, I wanted to say Dresden sketchbook, which is sketchbook in German, and this is one of those autographies which I ended up printing on here. And so I said, okay, you design it. Dresden sketchbook. Okay, my name, Grafikwerkstatt Dresden. So I had to laugh. I was like, okay, it is what it is. So anyway, so this is the case that the prints will hopefully be printed by, early spring. So, and they will fit inside here. And it's just a record of me and my time there and just what I observed and what I saw. And it seemed to be, this was like the last thing I worked on. It seemed to me a nice way to close it, that my whole experience is wrapped up in a technique I'd never done in a book, in a portfolio, which really sort of was a nice way to end it. Because, these are works in progress. I don't know how long it'll take me to finish. I never do, but so it was really nice. So the odd things are most for those of you who are seriously considering going or applying, the Sunday is a really bad day for eating and buying things. Everything's closed. There's a couple of restaurants. There's a restaurant 2 or 3 blocks away, which is really good. It looks like nothing on the outside, but it's really good. That's open on Sunday, but you have to sort of prepare in advance for what you're going to do on Sunday. And we ended up, like I said, cooking. The place, you get your own room, which is a pretty decent sized room, maybe the size of this. There's a bed and a shower and a sink and a toilet and all these, and a desk and a hot tea maker and everything. And then right there is a kitchenette. So it's like 2 burners, a sink, pot or two, small fridge, which we all fit our stuff in and nothing, managed. There was 4 of us and then the occasional odd ducks. But we would cook. And in the beginning, everyone's like, okay, I bought, you owe me. And then in the end, it was like, look, you buy today, you buy tomorrow, you buy the next day. And so that worked out fine for us. And, we cooked, cleaned, and we would sit there from, I don't know, 6:30 to 9:30, just yakking and gabbing and just really enjoyable, which was really nice because otherwise you're sort of on your own for a lot. So I would advise you to really sort of make friends with the other residents. It just happened. It wasn't like anybody planned it. I think mostly because Sylvia's really like outgoing. Hey, how are you? Okay. There were a number of days of transit strikes. We were able to walk to the center across some really interesting paths. There's a lot of like the 70s GDR sculpture in front of GDR housing. And then walking back along the river, because there's a part when you walk along the river, if you look, it looks like you're in like the 1800s. It really is like bizarre. Anyway, the second time we walked there, but it was like, we're not walking back. So we ended up getting a cab, which was fine. It wasn't that much money. On the way to Berlin, the strike had just ended, and the different transit systems struck at different times. And on the way back to Berlin, it just ended, but the trains weren't where they needed to be, so I ended up taking a bus, which was also fine. And I took the train home. And it's 2 hours away. If you're going to go to Berlin. But like I said, there's so much to see in Dresden itself, which is worth like exploring on the weekends, which is what they want you to do. We also went to a lot of openings, so they tell you what's going on in the art world around there. Mostly, what's his name does? Martin. Yes. Oh, I can tell you a whole funny story about calling him Martin, which I won't. But anyway, Martin will send you out these emails, mostly in German, so that I have to translate it. But it's where things are, and there's a couple of openings we all went to and had to go to. And there's the woman who writes. So at your opening, they got a art historian to write a critique about everybody's work and write a whole thing. So she sent it to you, a translated version, thank God, of what she said. And she was at a couple of other places, so we got to see her a lot. And so we all still communicate now through Facebook and stuff, which is really nice. It was the unexpected benefit of the friends that I've made now. Of course, like I said, the guy who's Germany and France, I will visit him in France. Really a really nice guy. We all talk about making plans to go back on our own dime to go back at some point, but I don't know when that'll happen because this year is going to be kind of crazy for me. So I'm trying to think of what else to talk about. It was just an unexpected, wonderful, yeah. Oh yeah, so I should talk about that. So you go there and you hang your show, but all of us looked at it and said, we have to make the show look good for all of us. So we all worked together to make a show hang, because you're hanging four disparate different arts people, very, very disparate. It's a great, great space. It used to be half the size apparently before. They've increased it now to like twice the size. It's a beautiful open space, and the show looked really good. Sylvia had this beautiful like installation with the things top to bottom and these sort of rolled up paper bowls on the floor, and then Oliver had these little pieces, and so it moved, and I had my book, and so the book was there, and it moved, and so it was hung very well. The opening was really nice. It was well attended. People do go and see the show. The neighborhood does support it. People sold work in that show. I did not expect to. I did not, but the other two of the other ones did sell work. So work does sell. But what I would recommend is working together, not just like, okay, I got this space, without any regard for how the show looks, because the better it looks for everybody, the better we all look. And she did come and interview the critic, did come and talk to all of us about her work when we were hanging it. So she found out other stuff, and I have no idea how she found it out, but she was a very well, I thought, researched and critiqued. Written critique. How's that? And I think it was just lots of wonderful, and that again, different area. So again, different place to go, different. I'm not sure. Yeah.
So how much stuff did you take with you? And how much?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's a very good question. I took everything because I did not know what they would have and what they wouldn't have, and everything. They have things, but everything that are consumable, you pay for. Now you get or at least I got. There was a small amount of money towards it, but I mean, seriously, it was like I spent a lot more money because the paper cost money and blah blah blah. There are good art stores in Dresden itself. Yes, I took plates, so copper plates weigh. I took wood, took plexi, all of that. I took carborundum. I took all that. So I'm not sure what I could have gotten there because I didn't research that. That I should have thought like, yeah, you could get some of that stuff there. Literally. So I'm the suitcases weighed a ton. But it's not a third world country. They have stores. They have art stores. They have, and even the Werkstatt has materials. They have paper. They have. There's a room for cutting wood. If you're going to cut wood, you have a room to do it in. You don't do it. They keep everything very separate and very clean.
Yeah, I'll say the Grafikwerkstatt, they provide a 50 euro stipend to put towards materials and supplies by the artist when they're there, and then anything above that 50 euros.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Which I did in cash. So, and part of that was the shipping home. Cost some money, but that was again it was cheaper than taking it home and lighter. It was a very sort of civilized, focused place to be. I can't recommend it highly enough. If you are even on the fence and you have the ability to apply. Have any other questions? I mean, I'm not even sure what. If you bring laundry sheets for laundry detergent sheets for laundry. I mean, minor stuff, but they sell like laundry detergent and sheets now. You could buy that at the laundromat, I guess, but it doesn't take up room. You can use it. It says laundromat 2 blocks. I mean, the stuff that I never thought to ask, like, where do you do your laundry? Yes, 2 blocks away. It's the cheapest one, and it was 2 bucks away, and it was fine. And there's even a library there you can read while you're reading. The transit system, when it's working, is great, top notch. We found, they direct you one way to get there, but there's lots of different ways to get back. Different, and feel, don't don't be afraid of just getting lost, because we discovered some really great places just by like, whoa, just by wandering there on the wrong street. I never felt unsafe there. If you're a woman, I never felt unsafe there. I mean, you grew up in a city, you treat it like a city, but I never felt like anywhere I was. They have a downtown, they have an old town, they have, where this is, I told you, it's like sort of like Brooklyn, and where there is the more, lunches. Okay, I would bring my lunch from home, but there's a supermarket, which if I didn't have it, I could get food there 2 blocks away, which is on the way from the bus stop, tram stop to the place. But there's also, and they have prepared foods and they have all that stuff. And there's also takeout restaurants in the vicinity as well, just, within a block or two of the Werkstatt. And they have a refrigerator if something needs to be refrigerated. I'm not sure what else I can try to think of.
How does it compare to other residencies you've done?
This was the most organized, I think. It's not like they're over you like work, but the fact that all 4 of us were there like all the time working, because apparently in the past people have used it as I'm in Europe, I'm just going to go here and here and here and here and not work, and I'm there like, I got all the stuff here, I'm going to work, right? And so I think they really appreciated that. So they were also telling us like out of the way places to go visit, like you have to do this walk and you have to do this and you have to do this. And I went to my Kathy Kollwitz tour. There's a sort of a longish bus ride to where there's a castle. And I'm on the bus and it's crowded. I'm like, wow, everyone's going to see. She really is a national treasure. And I get off, they go to the castle, and I turn left, I'm the only one. So it's like a 2-room, it's where she stayed the last 2 years of her life. And it's like a 2-room hovel, which was given to her by the guy in the castle. And it's now a museum, but you get to see where she was confined to. It's like a little patio and a garden, and there was nobody there but me. And it was just wonderful. So there's like a lot of like out of the way places that you didn't know existed or was nearby. So it was far more organized in the sense that this is the times you're here. It's like you do your work between 8 and 4. You don't have to take tea, you don't have to take lunch. There were people who didn't, but you do because there's tea. And I learned a German word a day, some useful, some not so useful. And yeah.
What is the one thing that you now know that you wish you would know before you died?
Not to take so much stuff. That's part of it. I think I think that's the only thing, honestly. And because what I really enjoyed was the process of discovery of new things and exposure to new different kinds of all the people working there, which is anytime you're in a sort of group situation and you have, 12 people, 13 people in a space, and 12 or 13 people doing something completely different. But it's also different techniques, different approaches, different ways they fold the blankets so that it goes. I started doing that here. It's like they have different ways. And so it's the discovery of the ography, was the discovery of, because I'm always like, how do I make all my work like drawing? I love drawing. How do I make everything like my drawing? And this was a step that way. Will I ever get to do it again? No, I don't think so. Not unless I find a place in the States where it has it, and it's not really, because it involves all new setup. I mean, really, it's an investment in materials and learning things. But it got me something and got me thinking in a different way. So that was and working in concert with seeing all of the art that's in Dresden. There's a lot of museums, and going to the museums a number of times and seeing what's there, and then coming back and looking at like Kalwitz is up close like here, and then each one of us had a different. There was I'd never heard of this artist. Who is he? Oh my God, this is really incredible. So seeing all of that, and then coming back on Monday and saying, okay, how do I get there? That was the real beauty of the whole thing. That was what I think, looking back at it now, what I really enjoyed and hadn't expected. So if you apply and if you get to go, take advantage.
I'm going to throw a question in here. Here at CCP, we often have like printers working directly with an artist.
Mhm.
What is the level of engagement between you and the
Okay.
printers on staff there?
All right, that's a really good question. So if you were like talking about doing lithography, they expect you to be able to do lithography. They won't let you near it if you don't. If you have questions, they will work with you. You can actually hire them to print it. If you say, I can't do this, they will print it. It will cost you some money, but they will do it. But they're always there, especially Torsten's the one who you will deal with mostly with the print shop area. And he will try. When we did this, okay, we were trying to figure out how to get this on this already pre-printed text without creasing, because they kept creasing the paper. And it took us a couple of shots through, and we finally figured out a way. But so they will work with you, not like, nah, you're on your own. They expect you to know some stuff. So if you're a complete beginner, maybe wait a couple of years, but you should know some stuff. But they are there and very engaged and willing to. It's for them to have you be successful. So that's their goal, to be successful. I struggled a little bit learning the asphaltum aquatint, which was different from rosin, completely different. And so they worked with me to make it function, so I could get it to work. And he would come in and like, oh, what are you doing this? Oh, okay, well, maybe you should try, suggestions in a very friendly way, not like, you're an idiot, you're doing this wrong. Just very like, try it this way. And that was very good. Yeah. Um, oh, okay. That's a good question. I think so. Sylvia, who's the one from Hamburg, I think she had just started working on lithography, but they weren't comfortable enough to let her do it. And she was angry at first, but then she realized you break a stone, that's thousands and thousands of dollars. So, but she ended up doing the lithography and really liked it and took that to a degree. Rainer, who was from Göteborg, he has an etching background, and he ended up doing an etching or two. Oliver, I have no clue. He did, like I said, he did the lithography and then some type art. But again, this is really all you're really doing when you do lithography is you're drawing. They make the plates, and then you're printing. And once you learn the process of printing, and the difference between the color printing and the black and white printing and how you make that work and blah 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 blah, it's really rote, and it becomes more of an art thing rather than a technical end of it. So I can't say so. Raina had I had etching ability. All of them got it through some kind of their own their own version of a CCP, whatever it was. The state government, I think, actually funded this thing, and they picked. So I don't know what their requirements were, whether it was, but having some ability, like if you're looking at photo stuff, I don't think they even have that capability outside of the lithography, which is you would draw they would shoot. But you could take a photograph. They can make a photograph into an algraphy plate, which a lot of them did. So that there's things like that to do. Woodcut. I did a woodcut. I actually never printed it there because they only have one sort of woodcut press, and there was a woman always on it. So it's like she takes precedence. It wasn't like my world would end if I didn't do this woodcut. So it helps, but I'm not sure. It depends on what you end up wanting to go there and do. So if you come there with photographs and say, okay, let's do the photographs, I'm going to combine them on one sort of piece, a red one, a blue one, a yellow one, a green one, whatever it comes out to be, and then experiment until you get it right. That's good. But if you don't have to go there saying I'm going to do an etching. I just went there with that was what I was going to do. I don't think the other ones knew etching, but I don't know. Anybody else? No. You should all apply. Seriously, if you have the ability, just go. It is weather-wise. It was gray. Yeah. Hence the gray paper. Which, oh, by the way, I picked the paper because it was gray, because it was heavyweight, because I liked the paper. It's called Old Dresden. I had no idea. They didn't tell me till the end. I was leaving. He goes, the paper's called Old Dresden. I'm like, no. Middle of February to middle of March. It was like 5 weeks, I think, 4.5 to 5 weeks, something in that range.
5 weeks, but it's the same weather as here.
Yeah. It was maybe a little warmer, but not. It was not.
They have asked us to change the time of year, though.
Oh, to when?
To the fall.
Oh, to the fall. Oh,
right.
Okay. Fall will be nicer.
Honestly, I think that's part of what they were thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because this exchange residency is organized through the Dresden Martin
Culture and tourism.
So I think that is part of an opportunity for them to bring people in to see what Dresden is all about today, compared to all the things we didn't know anything about them before. But Martin has said, we think it'll be a nicer time of year. There will be more to see, and the weather will be better for somebody coming.
There was a cemetery that we all wanted to go to because there's like Caspar David Friedrich is buried there, and we all wanted to go there, but they're closed until like May or something, and then I think they're closed. They're open in September. So if it's September, go see it. It's a great cemetery. It's on. You'll see it on your tram route. So I will tell a Martin story because it's very funny. So I'm talking to the other artists. I said, "Oh yeah, Martin sent an email," and they're like, "Who's Martin?" And I said, "Martin Chiliak." "Oh, I mean Mr. Chiliak." And I'm like, "Mr. Chiliak? Yes, you call him Martin?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's his name." and it's like no, Germans will never do that. You are Mr. We are not friends. We are Mr. Chiliak to you. And I'm like, if I'm Nomi, he's Martin.
No, it is a much more formal environment, and I also did not quite realize that until arriving there. I went for the opening exhibition at the start of the residency period, and they do that at the start. I'm guessing so that the city can, have people come and visit and see who is there in their city that they are sponsoring and the type of art that they're making, and really be there to support it. It's wonderful. It's Europe. But the art historian that they hired, and Martin's boss was there, and in the lithography studio gallery, we also have the exchange member exhibition with the studio in Berlin, and one of my contacts there came to Dresden for the opening when I told her about it, to support us having our artists there, which was lovely. And she is not from Germany, she's from Israel. And so when I was introduced and you were introduced to this art historian, she said, "Oh, that's very German. This is what happens." So there's always a talk at the beginning of the exhibition opening, and you have a historian tell you about each of the artist's work at length. And I think we were both very surprised the amount of text
but like 3 pages of this thing.
per artist.
Yes.
But she said that that is very common, and these are very formal experiences for them. And so, like when Martin came here, you were over there,
Yeah,
but Martin
yes.
came here prepared with notes to read about
Yes,
Teresa, who
yes.
was the artist here from Dresden
Because
at the
that's
same
what we
time.
do.
That is
And
what, yes.
So it was interesting because I saw her again at one of the other, they were having some big exhibition to show like 30, 40, 50 or something of between Coventry and some city in Poland and Dresden, some exchange that had. So anyway, she came and she did the same thing. It was like hours going down, but she did it in German. So I was just like, um, so it was saying, and I also heard that like the level of person that they get is it describes the level that that you are. And so
The
she
level of
was,
respect for
yeah,
the artist
yes,
is kind of
yeah,
demonstrated
yes,
by the level of the art historian or the
yeah,
person that speaks about you
yeah.
during the opening.
And I will also, I'm going to put in the, so one of the days they had these little chocolate things, chocolate candies, which are put out, during the tea time, which were an old East German thing. Okay, and they started making them again. And so he said, we found one place in Dresden that makes it, we all like, oh my God, this is so good, right? So there's one place in Old Dresden, right, like either in the Hilton Hotel or right next to it. And of course they had the original, which we got, and then we got every other flavor in. I came home with like 20 boxes. I mean, I gave most of them away, but it's the Kugeln. This is like the stracciatella one, but they're really good. The regular one is like chocolate and vanilla with this chocolate candy coating, and it's like an old East German thing. So that's, if you go, that and pretzels. That was my search. Anything else? No, you're welcome.